read the Bible cover to cover these past years, and what I found is something new about real estate every single time I've opened it. Welcome back to the channel where I talk about faith and real estate. So, what have I learned for you today? Most buyers in real estate think the hardest part is finding it, which it's not. The hardest part is structuring the offer correctly, because this is where money, emotion, and like the whole risk collide, especially if you're going against different offers. And if you structure it wrong, you're either overpaying or overexpose yourself. In these last few videos, we've been looking at Luke 14:28. So let's just kind of sit down and look at that real quick. I think I said Proverbs, but I really meant to say in the last few videos, we have been looking at Luke 14:28, which sitting down first and estimating the cost before you build. So 4:28. And this is the cost of discipleship. Now great crowds accompanied him, and he turned and said to them, if anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters, and yes, even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. Whoever does not bear his own cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. For which of you desiring to build a tower does not first sit down and count the cost, whether he has enough to complete it? Otherwise, when he has laid a foundation and is not able to finish, all who see it begin to mock him, saying, this man began to build and was not able to finish it. So nowhere does that verse apply more than I would say the offer phase, because you want to get to the finish line. You don't want people to mock you. And this is the moment where excitement tries to override the wisdom of structuring a real estate purchase agreement. And so we finally find the house and we're like, dude, I want this house. Because this moment where excitement tries to override wisdom, where you have the purchase agreement and you're like, you finally found the house and you like think about, oh, I could do this with the kids, or I could do this with my spouse. I can see family here on the Christmas holiday or Easter holiday celebrating a baptism after church. You don't want to lose it, right? But then something in the back of your mind kind of creeps in, like anxiety, where you get anxious and you're like, what if someone else gets it? What if we don't go in with a strong enough offer? What if we go too strong and we like are put ourselves in financial risk? So that is an emotional roller coaster, I always feel like, for buyers. And like I feel like that is the hardest part about like planning and structuring the offer. And most buyers simply think the goal is win the house. But here is the honest truth. Winning the house, it shouldn't be the goal. Winning wisely should be the goal always, because a home you win emotionally but like regret financially, I don't think that's victory. I feel like that is like I'm just anxious the whole time when I'm in the house, and I'm always thinking about that. So let's just like break down what makes a smart offer in the Sioux Falls area. First is the pricing strategy. Before we talk numbers, we think about how long has this home been on the market? How do recent comparable sales show to this guy? Is it newer? Is it older? Is it priced aggressively to create competition, or is it priced optimistically with room to negotiate? What's the current inventory doing in this price bracket? In a competitive scenario, which I would say Sioux Falls is always growing. We've had 5,000 people year over year now come, and we only have 1,000 homes being built. Like the supply and demand requires strong pricing, and it's a competitive market. In a slower scenario, you may have leverage. So if it's on the market longer, like you can kind of negotiate a little bit. Blind overpaying is not a good strategy, but you need to position yourself with information and then put an offer in. And here's where I think most of my clients, or like most of the people I see, make mistakes. They think offering way over asking just like guarantees the safety, which it really doesn't. It just increases your risk. The second is like your earnest money. Earnest money just like signals you're serious, but it also represents some overexposure. Like I always have like housing brackets for your earnest money, right? If you have $100,000 house, you're not going to put $5,000 of earnest money, right? If you have $1,000,000 house, you might put a $5,000 house. Higher earnest money can strengthen your offer, especially in a multiple offer situation. But you got to understand, like, when does it become non-refundable? Under what contingencies is the earnest money protected? And like what deadlines apply? Never increase your risk of the higher earnest money without understanding like your timelines and your contingencies. Strength without clarity, that just creates added pressure. Third is contingencies. This is where the protection lives, right? Like where you can back out of a deal. That's what just the contingencies mean. There's inspection contingency, financing contingency, appraisal contingency. home sale contingency if it's applicable. Trying to think. I think that's all of them. So some buyers think waiving contingencies makes like this serious thing, but I don't think so. I think it just like overexposes people sometimes. And in Sioux Falls, most competitive offers can remain strong while maintaining smart protections. Remaining strong while still maintaining smart protections. Sometimes we shorten inspection timelines, sometimes we tighten financing deadlines just to kind of show like we have strength, but it can add added anxiety. But removing protections entirely should be very rare and intentional. Fourth is the appraisal gap risk. This one may surprise people. If you're over asking and the appraisal comes in lower, are you prepared to cover the difference in cash, right? So if I say I have a $10,000 appraisal gap, so the house appraises for 390,000, but you said 400K and your appraisal gap was $10,000, you got to come up with that $10,000. So if not, you need to like structure that risk carefully. And this is like Luke 14:28 in real time, is just make sure you're planning and estimating the full cost of what your offer is going to be. Now, you need to find someone super trustworthy, right? Like it could be me, could be a whole bunch of other people, but don't just think about purchase price, but think about appraisal risk, inspection findings, repair negotiations, closing costs, moving expenses. Those are all factors you should consider. Offers aren't just about the number. They are definitely about like your risk tolerance, the risk exposure. And so I'm going to quick pause here. If this kind of strategy helps you think more clearly about buying in Sioux Falls, hit that subscribe button. I release weekly videos on neighborhoods, buying strategy, and relocation planning so you can move confidently instead of reactively. Now, let me give you a real example of a buyer I worked with in completely competitive situation. I had this guy, he liked the house. There were a couple of multiple offers coming in. We didn't waive the inspection entirely, but we did put a higher inspection agreement in. And so we structured it strong with clean pricing, healthy earnest money, definitely a shortened inspection window, but we didn't waive that part of it. And we had clear lender communication up front where we were pre-approved, a little bit different than pre-qualified, but the bank's not going to care if you're pre-approved or pre-qualified, or the seller as well. We won, but during the inspection, we uncovered a meaningful negotiable repair issue with mold. And because we kept that protection in place, we were able to address it. And we actually ended up backing out of the house because that seller did not want to do those things. And we're like, dude, this has to be repaired before you sell this thing. And so protection and strength can coexist. And just so you know, that buyer actually bought another house with me a couple weeks later and it went smooth sailing. So let's talk about some negotiation tone, something like people underestimate. Sellers respond better to clarity than aggression. Clean contracts, clear timelines, responsive communication, flexible closing dates when possible, solid pre-approvals from a respected lender. Sometimes flexibility beats price, but sometimes certainty beats escalation. I've seen identical offers, and if the agent is like clean, has timelines, is reputable, like someone's done a deal with me in the past before and it's gone so smooth with the communication and the responses are just quick, I might just suggest to that seller from the buyer's offers, like, hey, these are two great offers. I would go with this one because their agent too has just shown that they can be like timely and respectful and professional about situations if even anything were to arise. And I would say like the strongest offers are not always the loudest either. Let's just say you're like a grand under another offer, but it's a great agent and like the other offer is not clear at all. This is where I see like people drift. They think if you're a buyer, they think if we don't go all in, we're going to lose this thing. But here is like a better question to think about. If we win this house under those terms, will we still feel at peace a year from now? You're the person trying to secure a home, but the real villain isn't the competition. Seriously. It's like fear-driven decision making where I'm anxious throughout the whole year because I'm tight financially because I over offered. So my role as a guide isn't just to help you win the deal. It's help you win wisely through that all. So now, if you're thinking about relocating and unsure how Sioux Falls negotiations typically move, competitive versus balance, when escalation clauses make sense, when they don't, that's something I've outlined in my free relocation guide below in the description, and just understanding local market rhythm matters before you submit an offer. So check that out. Reach out to me if you're thinking about moving here to Sioux Falls. I'd love to help you out. But again, I'm not for everyone, right? So let me summarize the smart offer checklist is know the true market value, structure earnest money intentionally, maintain smart contingencies, evaluate the appraisal gap exposure. Okay. Communication cleanly, use flexible strategies, never waive your protections blindly. And always ask yourself, am I trying to win this deal emotionally, or am I estimating the cost wisely like it talked about in Luke? Because once protection is removed, it can't be added back in. So let's just go over this verse one more time. Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it? Estimate before you offer. Estimate before you waive contingencies. Estimate before you escalate, then build. If this helps you rethink how to structure offers in Sioux Falls, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I release weekly content helping buyers move more strategically instead of reactively. So I think next week I'm going to talk about inspections, red flags, and like structural things and financial risk buyers often miss, where that becomes like the evaluation of the protections. And thanks for tuning in. Lord willingly, I'll see you next week.